is Saturday the 12th of September 2020. I'm at the Wheelings paddock, which is normally the mares and foals, but this is the Wheelings. These are these are foals that have just been weaned off their mums. So the grey one is Captain Katie. And one of them is also Veronica Falls. Also one of the Wheelings is also the foal by Veronica Falls. They have African Lass there. I think African Lass falls there too, isn't it? The grey one is Captain Katie, and I thought was at first I thought it was the Street Spy. The Street Spy are either dark grey, but it's Captain Katie. So these are the leaves that are coming to the field there. So now there's only 4 of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, only 4 of them in here so far. Only 4 wheelies been weaned off. There's only 4 been weaned off their mum. Only 4 of them been weaned off their mum so far at the season. So it just looks like I'm going to get them. They seem to be too busy grazing and one poking around the field here. So it just looks like I'm not going to get any interactions from them today. And all the mares seem to be moved up to the far end of the stud. They were at this side of the stud earlier on before lunchtime, and I was hoping to get another hello from them. There's no mares in the stables. They obviously moved up to the far end of the stud, up near towards the Blanford side of the stud. So I won't be able to get them today. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get a second hello from the mares today, unfortunately, because they've all been moved up to the far end. But just like I don't get these today either. But they're absolutely beautiful, as you can see. They got very big. They stay here. They're now 6 months, so they stay here for at least another 6 months until they become a yearling, and then they go to the sales, and then they go to the new owners, and then start their training. First stages of their schooling, on the Curragh tracks, and start the first stages of their training for when they start their first steps of their racing career. And they'll go on the tracks when they're about between 2 and 3 years old, and they'll race. It depends if they're depends whether they get gelded or not. Depends if they get gelded or not. If they get gelded and they go jump. If they go to jump racing, they may retire around 11, 12 years old. If they go to flat, they retire between 4 or 5 years old. If they end up getting retired, if they don't get gelded and they retire as stallions and then remain on the flat, they retire between 4 or 5 years old. So, but then they become hurdlers and they get gelded. They retire at a later age for some reason. I don't understand why, but that's how it works in racing. But if they don't get gelded and they retire as stallions and they remain on the flat, they retire between 4 or 5 years old. That'd be the average age for a flat racer. But, and not all of these are male. I think there's some female horses here. I think there's a few cuts and I think there's 1 or 2 cuts and there's some fillies in here too. So there's some fillies and colts in here. So they're not all male horses. I think there's some fillies in here too. So. But the colts, if they get gelded, they'll jump racing. They probably race if they're 11 or 12 years old. Like Hurricane retired at the age 11. So when he came here at 2015, he's now 5 years here now. He started at 2015 and he's now 16 years old. So, and he was born here at the stud here too. He was originally going to be bred as a flat racer, but then for some reason they changed their mind. I don't know why, but whatever. But he would have become a great sire, in my opinion. But however, it wasn't to be. But
what a waste, yeah.
What?
What a waste.
What a waste. And Hurricane Fly, the magnificent name for the stallion too. It's a great name for the stallion as well. But I'm not too sure what their plans are for these. But if they do become stallions, they will retire between 4 or 5 years old, and I'm sure some of these will make great stallions after they retire from racing. So hopefully they will keep them as stallions and don't geld them, please God, and hope they have a great successful career and ahead of them. And I wish them the very best of luck in their futures as well. So I wish them, I have to look out for them, but I'll be only able to recognise them by looking at the Tsar and the dam's names. Otherwise I won't be able to recognise who they are. So if I see the dam and I know the dam's name from being in the stud, then I know that's one of the foals that I've met here in the stud. But if I don't recognise the name, then I don't know who they are. So I'll be only able to follow them if I know, if I recognise the Tsar and the dam's name. So I'll be able to follow their careers and possibly maybe bet on them. So anyway, wishing the very best of luck. So the hard work starts next year. So they'll be here for another 6 months until they become a yearling, and then they go off to the sales, Tattersalls, Ireland, or they go to Goths or whatever sales they go to. Then they go to the owners, and then they start the first process of schooling. And then they go on to the tracks in 2022, 2023, whatever year. And then they start their racing career. So, and hope they get decent names too. Please God. Get nice inspiring names, but not rubbish names. Decent names. And my Paul Seth now, see if the legends of me.